All right, staying with water problems, but in the city of Tshwane now, some areas remain with dry taps after a power trip at Rand Water's Palmiet booster pump station. The Metro says there has been improvements in stabilising reservoirs, but we are joined now by Tshwane Utilities MMC, Mr. Frans Boshielo, with us in studio. MMC, good evening. Thank you so much for giving us your time. The people of Tshwane, I know, going to be watching this conversation, really wanting some sort of glimmer of hope for water in various parts. I can just imagine Hammanskraal, for instance, wanting to see where this conversation goes. But how would you characterize water availability in Tshwane and where we are right now with Rand Water's Palmiet booster pump station?
Yeah, greeting viewers at home, and thanks for the newsroom for affording me an opportunity to talk to the residents of Tshwane, especially residents that have been affected by the water challenges that we are facing now. Parts of western part of Tshwane. But before I continue, let me just give you what happened. On Wednesday last week, the 6th of November, there was a power failure or outage in the Palmiet booster pump station, and it fails to pump water to the water network of the city of Tshwane. And as a result, there was a significant drop in the water supply, and ultimately most of our pipe networks and the reservoir ran dry. So, but apparently the Rand Water as a utility have resolved the problem the following day, and they started pumping water to our network. But it has taken time to recover because all our reservoirs and the water pipelines were dry. So, but currently, as we speak now, most of the areas that were affected were the Reeds in Centurion, Lodium, Atteridgeville, Lotus, that's the western part of Tshwane, and also the northern part of Tshwane is Mabopane, Klepgat, and Soshanguve, parts of Soshanguve. But the good news is that as we speak now, the situation has been improved. Most of the areas that have been affected are now receiving water from their taps. Areas like the Reeds, Lodium, and part of Atteridgeville. Where we are still lacking is the reservoir at Lotus Gardens, where the water level is very low. But the communities of Mabopane now are also getting water, and part of Soshanguve. The only areas in Soshanguve which are not getting water is the high-lying areas, which they can only get water when the reservoir level is 40%. Yeah. So we are still hoping that if the communities that are having water, if they can use water sparingly, we can be able to get water pumped to that high-lying areas.
Okay, MMC, you mentioned Lotus Gardens. We had our team out in Tshwane today speaking to residents of Lotus Gardens about water availability. And we actually spoke to one resident, Thabo Mahlangu. Listen to what he had to say.
When the election and campaign, they communicate to us on a day-to-day basis, do door-to-doors and all that. Now they're all tight-lipped. Hence, there are speculations, which I don't want to entertain. All what I want to see, we want to see water being delivered. Because the other thing, Thabo, that they don't want to talk about is something called technical losses. In 2016, we had 279 informal settlements, which consume most or bulk of this water. To date, we are sitting at 579 informal settlements in Tshwane. So the problem is not with the residents, how they consume. I mean, even Rand Water is busy blaming the residents. Here it's a political game. I suspect foul on this political game. It might be possible that there is sabotage among these parties because some are now jubilating and said, oh, yeah, we thought this one new administration will do better than we did before. But we don't want that nonsense because we don't swim in that pool. We want services to be delivered.
Yeah, that in fact was Thabo Mahlangu, who is leader of the Civic Association, Lotus Gardens, Atteridgeville and Salzville. What do you make of that issue that he says that you have technical losses, 579 informal settlements that are bleeding the water supply in Tshwane?
Yeah, it is true that we are losing water through various means like leakages and illegal connection. But as a city, we have got an initiative to try and address the problem. So we have got, we are implementing the program called Water Leaks Program, where we need to identify the leaks and be able to address those leaks. So this program, it was implemented in the past during Sputa administration, but it was still, discontinuous on the as-well DA-led administration. As we have now have the ANC-led administration in the city, we have resuscitated that program called a Water Leaks Project, which will be able to also train the plumbers to be able to assist in fixing the water.
Okay, MMC, are you essentially saying that the Democratic Alliance intentionally ignored water leaks in the city of Tshwane when they led the city?
Yes, I would say that because as I've indicated to you that we were running a very successful program called War on Leaks at that time, and that program was able to train even community members to as plumbers so that they can be able to identify the leaks in their homes as well and be able to fix the leaks.
Who shut down the program then to keep a close eye on water leaks and technical faults in the infrastructure, the water infrastructure of Tshwane? So when you point the finger and you say, well, that's where that program ended, who do you point that finger at? So
the administration at that time have discontinued the program. That is why we are resuscitating it now, so that it can be able to address the problems that we are facing. It is not only the leaks that we have also implemented water restriction, which will ensure that our communities use water sparingly, and they must not irrigate their garden during certain period of time, especially 6 o'clock in the morning and also 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, one of the things that the guest, Thabo Mahlangu, was speaking about, civic organization representing some of those communities in Tshwane, one of the things that he's put forward is the issue of foul play. He says, we suspect foul play and sabotage. Are you aware in what is being done, MMC, about the challenge of water tanker mafias in Tshwane? Is that a challenge for you?
No, as I've indicated in my earlier presentation here, the reason why we have got water challenges is not water tankers. Water tankers, we are using them right now to intervene in a situation where there is water. That is the only mechanism that we have to ensure that there is accessibility to water now. The current situation is linked to the power failure at the Palmiet power station, as I've indicated earlier.
But the point that I'm raising is where the power failure at Palmiet took place, is there a concern that that may have been sabotage or foul play?
No, we can't say there was a sabotage because we don't have any evidence.
Okay, one last one, especially for the residents of Hammanskraal that have been waiting for decent water for a long time. We did, as we closed off last week, visit Hammanskraal. Residents describing their water coming out of their taps as sometimes green, brown, red. We saw creamy water as well coming out of their taps. We saw it with our own eyes and captured it with our own cameras. What's the update right now on the Rooiwal wastewater treatment?
So there are 2 projects that are being implemented currently just to address the water situation in Hammanskraal. The first one is the installation of the package plan, which is implemented by Magali's Water. That package plan means to to treat water and purify it, and that water will be able to be distributed to certain parts of Hammanskraal. The other projects that we have just mentioned is a Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant, which we are going to be implemented in 4 phases. The first phase is currently underway and is about to be completed by January. That phase is for us to be able to have a good quality effluent discharge to the river, so that the timber purification plant will be able to purify at least a clean water.
I'm out of time, but I need to squeeze this in. When, MMC? So for the people of Hammanskraal, when will they be able to open it up and get clean water?
So as I've indicated, the purification plant will, this current Saturday, that one, it has been finalized, will be handed over to the community. The community will start having benefits with that purification plant. But as for the Rooiwal wastewater plant, I've indicated that it's going to be implemented in 4 phases.
Yes.
The first phase, as I'm indicating to you, will be completed by the January next year.
Okay, so shifting, once again, I think one of the residents saying they'd heard that the deadline would be September, so now we're talking about January 2025. Unfortunately, I'm out of time, but thank you so much for coming into studio for us. The Tshwane Utilities MMC, Frans Boshielo, in studio with us, of course, talking about some of the water woes that the city of Tshwane is experiencing. A big discussion, in fact, countrywide, with Palmiet also addressing water woes in Gauteng earlier today.